Imagine you are looking at an ancient profile, a list of physical traits written centuries before a specific historical figure was born. If those descriptions began to line up with a person from a completely different era, it would suggest a connection worth investigating. To see how these two timelines might cross, we are going to place two different ancient texts side by side. On the left, a poetic chapter from the Bible called the Song of Solomon. On the right, the eyewitness accounts of the Prophet Muhammad. This typographic breakdown shows a specific word found in the Hebrew text, Muhammadim. We can isolate the root from its ending. In Hebrew grammar, the M suffix shows respect. Dropped, the root word sounds exactly like the name Muhammad. A phonetic match is a starting point, but it isn't proof. To see if there is a deeper link, we have to look past the name and test the physical details of this ancient poem against the historical records. Verse 10 begins with a numerical detail, describing the subject as distinguished among 10,000. We can compare that number to a well-known event in Islamic history, the conquest of Mecca. Historical records from the 7th century describe this major event as being led by an army of exactly 10,000 men. This numerical detail provides a concrete point of comparison with the historical record. Looking at the physical traits, verse 10 describes the subject as radiant and ruddy, a phrase meaning bright and red. Eyewitness traditions from the 7th century describe the prophet's skin as white mixed with redness. Moving to the hair, verse 11 mentions locks that are wavy and black as a raven. Historical descriptions of his hair note it was intensely black and reached his earlobes, with witnesses writing it was neither straight nor overly curly. Verse 12 describes eyes like doves bathed in milk and cheeks like beds of spices. Contemporaries noted his wide eyes had a bright white contrast against the black, and recorded that his cheeks would radiate brightness when he smiled. The ancient poet used metaphors of nature to describe a person. Those metaphors line up with anatomical descriptions recorded by people who saw him in person. The poem also mentions lips dripping liquid myrrh. In the ancient world, myrrh was more than a fragrance. It was a highly valued medicine used for healing. Oral traditions describe him using his saliva for physical healing, like treating eye infections, and even causing water to flow from a dry stone well. To describe strength, verses 14 and 15 use metaphors such as rods of gold, like polished ivory, and legs like alabaster columns. Biographers wrote he had broad forearms, noted the whiteness of his torso, and his strong and radiant legs. Finally, verse 15 compares his overall appearance to Lebanon, choice as the cedars. In ancient literature, the Lebanon cedar represents longevity and a strong, imposing presence. These metaphors of stone and wood provide a poetic mirror to the specific physical build confirmed by those who knew him. When we look at this complete map of connections, we see a high density of data points shared between these two traditions, a phonetic match for a name, a 10,000-man army, and medicinal symbolism, plus matching physical traits. Two distinct cultures, separated by geography and time, are describing a very similar historical profile. Looking at these texts side by side challenges us to consider what other historical details might be uncovered when we compare ancient documents this way.